picture so I can point at you guys.
You're on my bottom right.
I don't know. What is up? What is up? Good to have everybody here. So do you want me to, Matt, do you want to do the intro? You want me to introduce everybody?
Why don't you do the intro while I'm getting everything situated here?
Oh, yeah, chat box.
We'll go from there.
Okay, good stuff. Well, everybody, welcome to Whiskey Thursday, another exciting episode here. And while we let Matt
spam everybody
in the chat bot here and notify everybody, get some people on here really quickly. First of all, I want to thank everybody that's going to join us tonight, including Anthony Main, who returns for, I don't know, the 5th, 6th, 7th time now. You're here again, which is awesome. Good to have you. Good to have you. And your puppy, which is now becoming part of the REMCM family here.
Part of the fam. It is what it is. I mean, the deal is he can either bark in the corner or he's going to be on camera. He's not camera shy, so I guess it's a good thing.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Good stuff. And special guest with us tonight, Alex. Super pumped to have you here. We're going to talk about some really interesting stuff that we never actually talk about on here because, well, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I can barely write. So copywriting is completely out the window for me. I just rely on copying other people's stuff, mostly Matt's stuff. So
perfect.
I mean, and Anthony's stuff more recently, which now I found out it's Alex's stuff. So it's
really Alex's stuff. It just I pretend it's my stuff.
Yeah. So everybody, welcome to Whiskey Thursday. If this is the first time joining the show here, typically this is what we do. We get on here with special guests, and usually we're all drinking something. I don't know what you guys are drinking. Matt's probably.
I got my White Claw because there ain't no law.
There you go. Awesome. Oh yeah, that's right. And Alex was talking about martinis tonight, which is awesome. Good stuff. And I've got
this is when Alex gets on his second martini is when we really start asking the hard questions.
Well, then let's dive right into it, you guys. If you guys are watching live, hashtag live in the comments below. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay in the comments below. We got Andrew, Simeon, Dave, Cheryl, Ed, DG, Alex. What's going on, everybody? Aaron's here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on. One more time, if you're watching live, hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay down in the comments below.
And let us know where you're watching from, too. We always like to know where you're watching from and who's new. Let us know if this is the first time you've seen Whiskey Thursday, too, because we just, man, the group is growing so fast. I don't know if you guys are tracking numbers or not, but
dude, it has been upwards lately. It's insane. They said they can't hear Alex. It's okay. We haven't let him talk yet. So
yeah. It's okay. We'll get there. Trust me. I will be doing enough talking tonight for everybody. So don't worry about it. We'll get there. I promise.
There we go. We got Joe's here. Christian's here. Love it. Love it. Everybody's here. They're ready to learn a little bit more about copy and how to get those ads working even better, right? Everybody wants to know about the targeting, but nobody's been talking about the copy.
The copy.
What's behind?
I don't know about you guys, but like, and I'm sure because we're all in this sort of space, and I'd be actually interested to hear from Alex too about this. But I know one of the biggest question we always get, and Anthony, you probably remember a lot of this, like from some of the other big groups that we're a part of, and even Matt, you probably know this too. But with real estate ads, the big question is always, what do you target? It's like all the time, right? And now it doesn't matter.
And part of that, I think people get it a little backwards in that people think about targeting prior to writing their copy, but in reality, it's the reverse of that.
Right.
Whereas when you build
hold on. We're diving in way too.
I know we're going way too. You don't even know who I am yet. Like nobody.
12 and a half seconds.
Who I am to begin with. I'm like, no. Break everything you've ever done.
Yeah.
So
you need before you start giving knowledge out, you need to be at least one martini deep. So we're going to take it slow until we get there.
Got it.
So I actually had a point where I was going with this before Alex actually, jumped in. But no, I guess my point is one of the big questions we used to get a lot is what about the targeting? Like who are you targeting? What are you targeting? I want to get sellers. I want to get buyers, whatever. Like what is the targeting? That was always a big question. And now that doesn't matter anymore, especially specifically in the US. You're pretty limited now with the new rules from Facebook. And so I think that this, what we're going to talk about tonight kind of lends itself well now to the changes, because I think one of the big things that a lot of us marketers are going to start having to focus on is the copy and how to write copy, especially for different types of campaigns. Wow, that's so funny. I don't even see
Dave Woodson says, "Say it," or he says, "A realtor putting the cart before the horse."
Say it ain't so.
Huge surprise. So Alex, so before we even dive into kind of what you do and how you make a difference in copy and whatnot. So, I know you've been somewhat active in the group. You've definitely answered questions and whatnot, but why don't you give everybody like the quick, the 2-3 minute elevator pitch, kind of tell them your story, how you got even into the real estate world.
Sure.
And just for those people who don't know, I met Alex, I don't know, what was it, 5-6 years ago? We were at a conference. We were both speaking there. And we just kind of hit it off. We were at the dinner table across from each other. We just kind of hit it off. And he owned the company at the time. And we've basically been friends ever since. So kind of watching Alex for the past 5-6 years from where he was, where he is, and where he's going it's been an adventure for me. So, Alex, I'm gonna let you kind of dive into who you are and how you started in this whole business here.
So I started in the real estate industry about 10 years ago, and I started in it from the technology side. I was working for a tech company in New York City. Realized sort of that mobile technology was going to be a next boom in marketing, and started thinking about different solutions within the marketing space for mobile. Early on, it was consulting, but then realized, to make money, we need to productize what we're doing, and started doing target research on what industries would be the best for mobile. We looked at real estate, we looked at hotels and resorts, and we looked at conferences and events. And we ended up building out platforms for all of them. All of them took off to some extent. We had a deal with Choice Hotels for a little while. We had, with the hotel piece, we did a bunch of conferences for people all over the country, including Triple Play with our event system. So that's a pretty huge, 15,000 person conference or whatever. And then real estate is the one that really, really took off. And to give you guys sort of an idea of the difference of me doing this was totally bootstrapped. There was no financing. There was no investor. This is 100% bootstrap deal. We started with mobile and at first it was, okay, we want, mobile sites and apps to supplement our existing websites. Then it was, okay, you do a good enough job. We want all of our stuff through you. And then it was, the feature creep. And then we grew to a point where we ended up selling the business to Lone Wolf, right up by you guys, right up by Shane now. Yeah.
I don't even know who they are.
The ones who do the
I don't know, represent.
Yeah, so you do the IDX on the brokerage sites a lot of times.
They do some of that. Lone Wolf is really the accounting software. They run 70% of brokerages in Canada's accounting software and about 20 or 25% of US brokerages accounting software. So pretty.
They're Canadian too, right?
Canadian. Yep. Right outside Toronto. They're in Cambridge.
Who are Canadians tonight watching? Probably half.
Canadians of the group. Hold on now.
So basically, when Alex got his payout, they paid him in Canadian dollars, not US dollars.
I know. Actually, funny enough, we stipulated US dollars. So we ended up selling the business to them. Then the CEO founder of Lone Wolf sold 80% to Vista Equity, which is one of the largest software development acquisition and VC groups in the world. He did very well for himself and decided he wanted to start a small venture capital and incubator company inside the real estate space, looking at various marketing and technology groups. So I got asked if I wanted to be CEO partner, manage the group. We spent about 6 months doing due diligence, acquired Agent Inner Circle, 3 Steps Ultimate, and Service for Life. And then I spend our time doing that, dealing with that. But it's interesting in that the companies we acquired, so I've spent a long time in marketing, right? Building sites, building email campaigns, building all that sort of stuff for people. But then
one of the ones you just mentioned, Service for Life, has been around for a long time. And that's kind of a pretty big one for a lot of agents out there. And I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of new agents on here who have not heard about that, but I know people that have been on that thing for like 20 years.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say it's 19 going on 20 years old now, and we still have clients from year one.
Yep.
And it's interesting. So we bought that company from a guy named Craig Fort. And Craig, back in sort of the early NLP followed by direct response marketing days, the guy that really sort of put his spin in direct response and kind of founded that was Dan Kennedy, with the whole No BS marketing series of books, Ultimate Sales Letter, all that sort of stuff.
Right. Up to you, but if you guys don't know who Dan Kennedy is, you should just turn off the live stream and just go to sleep.
Yeah, don't say that. All of a sudden, everybody disappears.
Yeah, we're down to 2 viewers. Sorry.
But Dan Kennedy was sort of, like I said, the guy that really sort of pioneered that direct response. Like you see all the Russell Brunson stuff now. He learned all that from Dan Kennedy. Dan Kennedy was like the originator.
Yeah.
The 3 best friends who did all of this together were Dan Kennedy, Craig Proctor, and Craig Fort. Which I'm sure in real estate, you've heard the Craig Proctor and maybe Craig Fort, but definitely Craig Proctor name, right? So they spent years and years and years doing copywriting, NLP, direct response marketing, all of that sort of copywriting, A/B testing their stuff, etc. We bought the entire content bank from Craig Fort, and then I was able to basically understudy with him.
Nice.
To learn all of his techniques and tactics and so on. Plus, we have a content director who studied under him. Plus, we have our whole bank of writers that she manages in doing this. So it's not like it's just me, but you know, like I said, it's something where we took a lot of this and spun out from it. But Service for Life is basically a newsletter service, direct print, mail to people, looks like it's in an envelope, has nothing really to do with real estate at its core. There's a lot of references to reports, things you can download, all that sort of stuff, but it's all just valuable information. And we'll talk a lot tonight about sort of why that stuff is beneficial, why it works over some other content that we see out there.
Very cool.
Makes sense. Love it.
Wow, interesting background.
Is that a good background?
Yeah, that's a great background.
Side note, I'm also a coder. I'm also a developer. I also do graphics, as Shane can attest to. So,
So just anybody who wanted to know, Alex is not really that smart.
Well, just really quickly here, I want a big shout out here to some of my Canadian friends tonight. Pat is here.
What's up, Pat?
That's the only Canadian. Oh no, Simon's here as well. I know you're Canadian. So I'm done. I'm kidding. Okay, so we got Joe's here. What's going on, Joe? Good to see you. Christian, good to see you here. Who else we got watching? Joe Sizzle. Ed is here. What is up? And then 26 other people who have not commented yet.
Not yet. We'll get them there.
Yeah, we'll get them there. That's what the coffee's for, right?
Time,
we got to read our scripts right.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's the key here is Alex has actually scripted out the entire episode for each one of us.
Yep.
So if you like it,
can't you tell?
It works.
Can't you tell this is all scripted? We've been practicing for weeks, guys.
Weeks. Louis too. Louis been on it.
And we got Dave Woodson here. Is it Dave Woodson from Wine with Woodson? Is that what? I've seen your show a couple times as well, Dave.
Awesome.
So thanks for joining us.
Welcome.
It could be. Did you guys have Jason Morris on a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, we did.
I know he does a lot of that in that group over there.
Okay, makes sense.
Very well could be Dave. I don't know if it is him. I couldn't tell from the profile picture, but yeah.
That's a good episode. I had fun on that one.
Yeah, I caught a piece of that. I wasn't fully in front of my computer that day, unfortunately.
Chasing the dog around.
Yeah.
So we got Philip here. Says, "Man, you all have. I don't know what's going on. Have you guys noticed this? Who's using Android phones? Are you Matt using an Android phone?
What's an
iPhone?
Yeah, I do. Why?
What's an Android? What is that?
Listen, I'm gonna be hanging up on you pretty soon here. No, but have you noticed this on the lives now? The comments disappearing.
Oh, I don't know. I got dual monitors.
Yeah, I have dual monitors. I don't.
Oh, God.
Shane,
I haven't used it like I haven't used one monitor since I was like 16. Like you can buy a cheap monitor for like $10, like a used monitor, and then it's like boom, all your chat, everything like that. Whatever you
know
don't.
What it is though, it's like I work from a laptop, right? So and it's like having to hook up my monitors to it, and then microphones and
USB docking station. Docking
Okay.
station at max is $150. USB-C 3, you literally plug in your USB port, put it down, plug in your power, and you're good to go. Everything else is plugged in.
Really, eh?
That's how I work. I have a laptop,
Right.
I plug in 2 cords, and I put it down, and it's done.
I'm not sure we sell those in Canada.
Yeah, in Canada it's like $400.
Yeah, Amazon's not up with you guys yet, right? They haven't made it there or something.
Did you guys read this article that Jeff Bezos lost like $3.8 billion the other day? Like,
Really?
I was like, wow. I'm like, he lost more money than my entire family will make in the rest of their lives.
Like, really? Oh my God. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
awesome. So let's get into this. Let's Anthony, unless we need to introduce you, I think you're pretty well known now inside the group here. But just really quickly, just for we went live yesterday inside the group. We talked a little bit about, and I think a lot of people are kind of know the changes that we're making inside of the bigger group. But for anybody that's just kind of joining us tonight and aren't aware of the new changes coming, so we forged a new partnership here with Anthony. He's going to be a lot more active inside the group here, and it'd be Anthony. You're also going to be running a lot of the masterclasses moving forward, which is really cool and taking over some of that. But I think the bigger benefit to everybody here, especially the members of the group, is being able to go out and reach out to a whole different network of people, bringing them into the group, growing this group and this amazing community that we've been able to build here over the years, and just expanding on that, adding a lot more value to the members, and I think at the end of the day, everybody's going to benefit here, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it was an interesting way, I guess, that it kind of all came together. But I think, for everybody watching, I think one of the coolest things that I'm going to be able to kind of bring to the table, especially from the masterclass part of it, is not only do I have the experience in advertising and marketing, but I also have a very large network in the real estate world. I've been active in it. I've owned a company, AM Open House, for many, many years in the industry, and I've been a real estate agent for the past. I think in June was my 13th year of being a real estate agent. So I do have a lot of contacts and connections, and I go to a ton of conferences and this and that. So being able to kind of draw on a different kind of audience outside of just marketers and just individual real estate agents, people that literally teach real estate agents and marketers how to do this business. Alex is one of those guys. I met Alex totally randomly. It wasn't like we reached out to each other. We just happened to be at like a 200-person conference that we were speaking at. Who brought us together? Was it Jeff Chalmers? I think Chalmers brought us.
Yeah,
together.
it was.
It was like a WCR. No, I think it was a WCR event. No, it wasn't. It was a Tech Edge.
It was a Tech Edge.
It was a Tech Edge. You're right.
Tech Edge that we did.
Yep. And so randomly, I was able to meet Alex, and I have a lot of connections like that. So it's going to be really cool to kind of bring a very new life into this group, from not only just marketing, advertising, but also people that you can go to these NAR conferences, and you can go to these major conferences and watch guys like Alex speak to 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people, and they're going to be diving in here and given their best kept secrets kind of in a really unique way. So I'm really excited to kind of see how this goes forward. Obviously wanted to start last month, but Matt had a masterclass he had to do before I could do it. So
I had to get that mortgage stuff. There's a couple things I didn't know, and I was like, I gotta get.
I heard great things about it. I've asked a bunch of people, and I've heard some really good things. I heard Luke was absolutely fantastic on it. So I was excited to kind of see that come together the way it did. So it was,
Luke did a great job. And I think a lot of people got tons of value out of that. So that was awesome. So I've got an offer here. Cheryl's willing to hand me over one of her monitors as long as I pay for the shipping.
Perfect. Free shipping offer. Perfect.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you so much, Cheryl. I appreciate that.
What is your upsell? Is there a bump offer?
I told him, I said, be careful. That's a lead bag now.
Philip here says your stuff, Anthony, is doing really well for him.
Good. And Shane's gone.
Oh, he froze for a second. Oh, we got Greg McDaniel up. What's going on, Greg? Greg's the host over at oh my gosh, now I'm gonna drop the name on it. The podcast, the real estate podcast. Oh my gosh. Real Estate Uncensored. There we go. I was like, whoa. We drink on this show, so
yeah. I've heard. I was on the boat for a couple hours. I'm a couple in already, so don't.
There you go. Yeah, but we Shane and I have both been on that. A great podcast. So thanks for joining us, Greg. Jake just joined us. Brett joined us. Brian joined us. What's going on, everybody else? People keep joining. And if you guys are watching live, hashtag live in the comments. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay in the comments, because we're about to start asking a bunch of questions about copy.
I don't know, Alex. Let me see how much drink is left. Let me see the drink.
I made a double to start, so we're working on it.
Double, it's a martini.
A double to start. I don't count a single as a drink, so
facts.
Yeah,
singles are Shirley Temples.
It's like taking a shot of water. I was with somebody the other day. I swear to God, he ordered a Shirley Temple. And I looked at him, I was like, "Do you mean to say that out loud?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "It's just you. It's fine." I'm like, "I don't know if I'm okay with it." You don't order with vodka. You don't want the rum. You want the Shirley Temple itself. He's like, "Yeah, that's it." I was like, "Okay, okay." I'm like, probably the last time we're going out to dinner.
Says the guy drinking White Claw.
Listen, there's no law when you drink a White Claws, okay? There's no law when you drink a White Claws. Come on.
Apparently there are.
Can we talk about that as a marketing campaign? That's kind of great as a marketing campaign that they came out with no law when you're drinking a White Claw, right? Like it's like they basically knew people were going to get crap for this, and they're like, we're going to use that as our marketing campaign. People can't give you crap.
I feel like
what happened shirts have come out though, like on Instagram, it's out of control. Like every major Brandon was like the tasteless, like all these guys that have all this, like literally each one of them has their own version of it, and it's. So I want to buy all of them, but I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do
it. I feel like we're all just sort of pushing back towards Four Loko, right? Like Four Loko came out, and then they're like, whoa, you got to pull that back a little bit. Like, that's just too much, guys. Like, come on now, right?
Story. So I was like 24, 25 years old, and a bunch of kids in my pledge class went to go play paintball, and I'd never had a Four Loko before, so they brought couple cases of Four Loko. So I don't know any better. So I'm thinking it's a beer, right? And I'm like, oh, this is this is fine. I could drink a couple of these. So before we start playing paintball, I had 4 of them. No joke. I don't remember playing paintball. I remember they put us in a line and you had to shoot the other line. Don't remember getting hit. They were like, you got hit 4 times. I'm like, where? What do you mean? Was wrecked the first and last time I ever had Four Loko. I was like, I can never be like that again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a Jesus Christ.
Yeah, because they get up to 14% alcohol on some of those.
They started selling them again. I saw one in the 7-Eleven the other day. Yep. Like, what do you mean you guys are this again? I'm like, I feel like this was killing people.
Well, they started regulating it. Like New York, different states started regulating. That's what I mean. Like White Claw is literally them pushing back toward Four Loko is my take.
These are only, what is this? This one's 5%. I've seen them at 6% before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that's a quarter of a Four Loko. I feel like Four Lokos are 90%.
Four Loko is straight rubbing alcohol. That's all.
We're making
those were ridiculous.
Fun times.
So Shane is having some issues right now. Ed says Four Loko mixed with Red Bulls were awesome.
Oh God, that sounds like a heart attack in a glass.
It is.
Sounds like a heart attack in a glass.
I think it is.
I will not admit to having done that when I lived in New York City.
As long as you say you will not admit to it,
I will not admit to that.
What do you got over there? That doesn't look like Fireball like your usual.
It's a Diet Coke.
Oh my God. With whiskey? What are you doing?
No. I'm trying to lose weight right now, so I've cut all of it.
Oh God, I guess we're just calling this Thursdays now.
Thursdays, apparently. And I'm I'm the one really drinking here, apparently.
Well, that's the other thing we realized is if we drink too much, we're gonna forget to get the gold out of our guests. So we really need to get them wasted.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Speaking of the gold.
What's that?
I've said speaking of the gold, I feel like we should get into some stuff.
All right, let's do it. So
I do.
Yeah, Shane's back. So
Shane's back. Perfect.
Probably a perfect timing.
So you know what it is? I think that. So I don't know if anybody knows the story here. Last week, I was having problems Whiskey Thursday. I was so annoyed that I thought so. Somebody mentioned something. Oh, maybe check your video card on your computer. I'm like, I've got a laptop. Like, how do you want me to check the video card? It's like, I don't know how to do that. So I've got an easy solution. I'm going to drive to Costco and buy a new laptop. So I bought a new laptop, brought it home, and it wouldn't connect to the internet. And literally the day I bought the laptop, I brought it back home, wouldn't connect to the internet. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Then my phone wouldn't connect to the internet. Then my other laptop wouldn't connect. So I called the service provider, and they're like, your account's been suspended. I'm like, what? It's like, you haven't paid your bill in 3 months. So all these problems I've been having, at least, so I thought, were because the bill hadn't been paid for 3 months. It had nothing to do with the laptop not working. So now I've got 2 laptops. I'm going to return one of them. But
you're clearly at this point. You're at this segue in your life where what you need to start doing now is obviously you have an accountant, right? What you got to do is you got to have all the bills go to them directly and let them handle the bills. This is like, you get to a point in business life where like paying your cable bill, you're just like, I don't have time for that.
I don't usually, like, I don't pay my cable bill. My wife pays the cable bill. Like,
I just logged in to make sure, because I was like, shoot, did I do that? Like,
yeah, like, hold on, it's my bill.
Everybody check your cable bills. But yeah, so anyways, I thought, okay, now I paid the bill, right? So my internet's going to work perfectly fine. Because here, what they do, I don't know if it is like the same thing for other people, but what they do here is, if you don't pay, like, if you're late 2 months, they don't put you on a suspension, but they'll throttle back your internet access.
oh gosh.
And then like Netflix starts to get all choppy, Zooms don't work. Like, it's really annoying. Yeah. And then
they're just like, you're done.
then they suspend it, then you're screwed, right? Because then you have to pay $50 to get it reactivated. Like, it's just a real hassle. So I thought that's what happened, but clearly that's not the problem. The problem is, it's my Wi-Fi thing is too far from the room where I know my internet's messed up again.
Oh, here it goes. He's going on. He's going
It's
down.
just so annoying. Oh my God.
Man.
I don't know what the
Sorry,
problem
guys,
is.
if you're watching right now, we're working on some technical issues.
I just shut up now. Let Chris.
So I just want to touch on what Kurt says. Kurt, you are required, especially if you're just watching, you are 100% required to drink on Whiskey Thursday.
I was.
Yeah. Yep. Required.
Sorry.
AOL days, yes, those I can't even imagine. Like, I can't.
Dial-up? Oh my God, dude. Dial-up was the worst. I started with a 28K modem, and that was like.
You can't walk on a laptop. What are you doing?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh man. So let's get into some of this copy stuff.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about what it's about. What's the big deal with the copy?
So, and it's a little bit bigger than just copy.
Okay.
And I'm going to expand this a tiny bit, which is I, in a lot of cases, tend to be the why, right? Teaching somebody how to fish, but sometimes even going a step further and being like, okay, this is how the rod is built, and like, this is how you want to cast it, and like really understanding it. And I think in marketing, a lot of times we skip past that, the why, right? We start trying to figure out what works. We start testing, we're finding things that work, and then we just keep going with those. But when it comes time to build a new ad, to, you know, strategize what we're actually putting out for new ad sets or new content or new emails or new, you know, any type of content, sales letters, whatever it is, I don't think we've taken a lot of time to figure out the why, the psychology behind it, of what people really interpret, how they pick up information, how they digest information, and then how they actually respond to that information. And that's really what the master's class, as well as partly tonight, we're kind of going to talk about. And I always post this. I'm sure you guys have seen this before. I'll share a screen here for a second.
While Alex is doing that, just so you guys know, so we're going to have an announcement coming like 9:15-ish sharp. So I think I like the ish sharp. I think it's I think it should be a very unique thing to this group. I think it's you know, whatever time we say, it's ish sharp.
Whenever on time, we blame Matt.
But 9:15-ish sharp, we're gonna be making an announcement that you guys will definitely want to stick around for. But this is part of the reason why we brought Alex on, and this is kind of cool for those people who are looking at the screen right now. I guarantee you literally just did everything that this
right.
Is.
I'm guessing you just followed along, right? You read this, and then you went here, and then you went here, and then you went, oh, there's that there too, right?
I did. I remember seeing this for the first time a couple months ago, and I was like, this is some bullshit.
Right? But there's some basic psychology behind all of this, behind things like this, to really figure out why we look at things in, say, that order, or why things stand out to us in a certain way, or how we digest that information, or all of that sort of stuff. And that's really what we're going to cover. I mean, you start thinking about it, and sorry,
it hurts my brain to think about it.
So I won't do too many more, you know, graphs or shares or all that sort of stuff. We'll leave that for the actual master's class. But think about it this way, and this is always kind of amazing to me, which is when we say we're looking at information, right? And there's a set of information out there. Yeah, right, Philip? It is Jedi mind tricks and shit. Yeah, it is. And all the stuff we're going to show you tonight. What?
Okay, here's a real Jedi. Fuck, I can't even talk. Forget it.
I don't know if that'll be best, but if
I can use a chat, guys.
Yeah. If you need, Shane will talk solely in the chat tonight.
if it is a bandwidth thing, sometimes turning off video will help there. Audio will come through because it's not trying to transmit video as well. Just
That's not fun.
I know I want to see you, but I want to hear you too. That's like I want to like talk to you.
We should have a way for Shane to call in.
No.
We do.
Oh my god.
All right.
Use your house phone. It's fine.
So think about it this way, right? And there's a thing called information theory, which is at any given time, all of our different senses, eyesight, touch, taste, smell, sound, whatever it might be, at any given time, we're picking up about 11 million bits of information. At any point in time, our senses.
Put that in perspective for people who don't understand what bits are.
Okay.
How much? What is that like? Watching like a 2-hour movie, or like?
Let me put it this way: if you were to write the piece of information, the sense on a piece of note card, right? Mm-hmm. You would cover the state of Massachusetts in note cards.
Wow. Okay.
That's how much information, and that's per second. That is per second that our senses are picking up that amount of information. Okay. Now, step back for a second.
I told you I learned something every time he talks.
Do you know how much we actually process?
None of it. I process
between
nothing.
50 and 150 bits per second.
So like half a note card.
So like half a note card. In fact, the 50 to 150 is so statistically insignificant. It doesn't matter whether it's 50 or 150. That's 150 out of 11 million, right?
Interesting.
That's pretty wild.
So there's a trigger, there's a set in our brain where we're taking in 11 million, but we actually have to drive that down into 100 or 150 that we can actually respond to. But how do we do that? Right? That's the amazing part about this, is how do we do that? And in reality, that's sort of the psychology that we're going to get into and all of it, but I'll give you the basics of it, which is that whenever a piece of information comes in, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to hit what's called the sensory thalamus, which is essentially sense relay. It's figuring out you have all these senses coming in, okay? And where do we send those in the brain? What the hell do we do with those senses? Well, one of them will say, if it's something to do with critical thinking, right? If you're presented with a question that you have to critically think about that doesn't elicit an emotion, it goes to one part of the brain. If it's an emotional response, it goes to a different part of the brain. Okay? Now, here's the amazing part. The part that deals with critical thinking, after it deals with critical thinking, then has to go through the emotional part after the critical thinking part. Now, what does that tell us in marketing? If we can do a better job of eliciting an emotion in what we're doing in our marketing off the jump, the less critical thinking someone is going to do about whatever they just saw, and the more of an emotional response and a snap decision response that they're going to make. Is that valuable?
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Right?
So, and I mean, it kind of goes back. It sounds like it goes back to, I'm not familiar, or not sure if you're familiar with like memory sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you ever look at some of that and read any of that stuff, it's interesting because they talk about attaching emotion to memory in order to be able to recall it quickly.
Absolutely.
Well, it's and what else? The other thing they do is like, when you hear something and write it at the same time, right? They tell you, like, as a person, if you want to really remember something or really have a goal, right? Don't just think the goal, say the goal, write.
I mean, I can show the whole chart. You guys want to see it?
Yeah, let's do it.
I've seen this chart 100 times. This is what I got to deal with.
You want to see it?
There it is.
10% of what they read, 20% of what they hear, 30% of what they see, 50% of what they hear and see. right?
That's
Then
like-
if you can get a further set of them actually interacting with the information and then working with the information, the higher percentage they are to actually remember it.
That's crazy. It's cool though.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Like when you really break this stuff down, it's kind of crazy because, like, we as marketers, we just think, okay, listen, we just want somebody to respond. We just want to write that good copy that one time, or we want to figure out that one good ad. But understanding the psychology behind why that ad works and why that picture, created that response, or why did somebody click on it, or whatever it is, it's kind of amazing to think like how much really goes into that. And most of us don't think about that, right? Most of us don't even consider it. We're just like, that shit worked, I'm going to use that again.
Well, here's another crazy one, Anthony, right? So there are other studies that show us that how the information is framed and how it's positioned will change people's reactions to that information. There's a bunch of different studies about that.
Right. We've discussed that a ton.
A ton, right? Here's some examples. There's one called priming with colors. Okay. Now think about this. If you are the old like Rorschach tests or the reference tests where you're given a word and you have to think of the word that comes to mind immediately, referencing that last word that you were given.
Yep.
Right. If you are told to say two words or given two references, and the reference that is related to the color is the actual item. So let's say I say yellow banana. It's quicker for my mind to think of yellow banana because the color and the item are referenced than it is to think of yellow sky. It actually processes through my brain quicker to go yellow banana. Now, let's take a step forward and think about this in terms of websites. A bunch of car dealerships ran tests, and they started using background images and then figuring out what amount of time people spent looking at what types of information given whatever the background images were on their websites. What they found was if the background images prior to the people getting there were referencing things like green or money or anything financial, people actually spent more time looking at the financial info for that car. Whereas if the background before they even got to it was luxury and couches and comfort and so on, they spent more time looking at the comfort of whatever that thing was on the site.
Interesting.
So it's called priming. It's a set where you can actually prime people with specific colors and background images that aren't forefront in our mind to get them to make specific decisions about stuff.
So to bring that into like a marketing sense, that's kind of like pre-framing something, right? Like making someone understand who you are, what you are, why they should know, like, and trust you before you even try to sell them something or give them something or whatever it is, right? Why they should give up any piece of information. It's the same basic concept of that.
So it's like a subconscious pre-framing.
Exactly. It's a subconscious pre-framing. Exactly.
That makes sense.
Exactly. And actually in the last 10, 15 years, there have been a bunch of studies where our subconscious, we used to think our conscious mind processed more information than our subconscious. It's vastly different than that. And funny enough, we've found that stuff that's processed consciously oftentimes gets in the way of subconscious processing. As an example, thinking about walking while you're walking interrupts your walking.
Like, you got to tell me shit like that, because tomorrow all I'm going to be thinking about is walking while I'm walking. It's going to be a mess for me tomorrow.
You're going to stumble on your feet all day long.
Like that. That's all I'm going to be doing tomorrow. Like, I'm walking.
Well, I mean, do you think about breathing while you breathe?
Now
right?
I am.
Now you are.
Yeah, now we are.
Every time you think about breathing while you breathe, your breathing becomes irregular.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of wild to think of how much our subconscious mind does and what we can do, how we can get to that subconscious mind. And there are a lot of things that, we drive into and we start thinking about in terms of the psychology. And I just gave you guys some examples. I mean, this is obviously we for the master's class, we're going to go very 101 and then get into the headlines and the email content and all the different tips and tricks and all that sort of stuff. But that just gives you some basic ideas when I start talking about the psychology, why we're actually making a lot of these decisions that we make and how we write this stuff. That's, you know, why we make a lot of these decisions.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the actual, you know, marketing and advertising side of this, right? So that's my bread and butter. That's Matt, that's Shane's. That's, you know, that's what we're doing, right? So like we've all found like winning ads, right? Matt's got his foreclosure ad that killed it, right? I took some shit from his ad and I reformatted that into the motivated sellers ad, and it kills it across the country, right? So like, why are there certain ads that you could take little pieces from and that will work no matter what, right? Like Matt could take his ad, his foreclosure ad, and literally put that in any market throughout the country and generate leads, right? You could take my motivated seller ad, you could put that in any market across the country and generate leads. Like, why do certain ads work so incredibly well while others just absolutely flop? Like, and you know how this is, right? Like we've seen leads come in at $2-3, and I've seen leads come in at $40-50, right? And sometimes it's just like, oh, I thought that was going to be a fucking killer, and it just wasn't, right? It just sucked, and you're like, I don't understand why that one flopped so bad. Like, what's the psychology behind why a majority of people will see an ad and respond to it while they can see a different ad and absolutely just gloss over it where it doesn't matter?
So I think the first part, and this is something that we do on a yearly basis, but I think the first part really comes down to an understanding of who you're going after. I think that really at its core component is sort of the first piece. And once you get that piece figured out, it becomes sort of a scale of how well it does, not whether it does well, but just how much tweaking we can do. And what I mean by that is this: we on a yearly basis have a whole set of questions. I'll put these in the Masterclass, but basically we ask ourselves a whole bunch of questions to figure out who our clients are and what their biggest pain points are and biggest pleasure points are, right? What do they stay up at night, you know, esophagus boiling up their, like,
This goes back to the most basic shit, right? It goes back to what Russell teaches, what Dan used to teach, what Craig taught. Like, it's the pain and pleasure, right? Like, find the pain point, create the pleasure, right? Figure out what is keeping them up, like you said, and give them a solution to their problem.
It's a core thing. Fix a problem, right? I mean, that's sales, that's business. Fix somebody's problem, you make money off of it. It's pretty simple. But a lot of times what we see and what always gets to me is people are putting these like emails and ads and so on and so forth together that are like, why do I care?
Guys, just so you know, like I was talking to Alex today. We were on the phone for like 2 hours today, and literally he gets an email. I don't even remember who the email was from, but he just like all of a sudden his whole tone, his whole attitude, everything just changed. And I'm like, what's the matter? He's like, I just got this fucking email. And he shares his screen with me and he's yelling at every part of his email. He's like, this subject line? He's like, please read. I know you're busy. He's like, yeah, I'm fucking busy. And he's going nuts. Like, he's mad. And he opens the email and he's like, your logo? I don't want to see your logo in the top. And it's like, I know we're all so busy. He's like, you already said I was busy. And he's going nuts at this email today, right? Like, as marketers, right? Like, I love reading that stuff because I love to watch what people are doing well and what they aren't. And this company, how many people do you think they sent that email to, Alex?
I know exactly how many they send it to, and it's right around 35,000 people.
Okay. So like, imagine how many people opened this email and felt like Alex did today.
It's one of the major associations. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll get to it. Have a little more martini.
Yeah, I'll keep drinking. I might get to that. No, but really what it came down to for me is I have a really straight standard, and I use this in a bunch of different classes, but I always think about my favorite radio station, which is WIFM. What's in it for me? And when I say me, I don't mean me, I mean the consumer, right? If you're not doing every piece of what you're putting together, your ad, your email, your bait, your flyers, your videos, your et cetera, if it doesn't have the core concept of what value are they getting out of it, why are you even doing it? Right? Because if there's nothing in it, let's be honest, right? If there's nothing in it for you, are you going to do anything with it?
No, definitely not. And even if there is, there's people who still won't do anything with it.
Exactly. You have like almost a 0% chance of something working if you're not giving something to the other person. It's actually another psychology concept. It's called reciprocity. The
Yep.
whole notion of getting someone to give up info is the notion that you have to give info, right? You have to give to get. It's again, a psychology concept, reciprocity. And it's something that you have to use constantly in what you're doing. And then the rest, we start getting into the, the good headlines, the good getting people to respond. But at its core, I think the biggest part people miss, and I think, like, to answer your question, what makes the difference between something that's really good and will work versus something that doesn't, at its core is how valuable is it to the person on the other end.
So I'm going to give you a great example of writing the great headline. Today, I was putting together a funnel that you guys may or may not see later tonight, tomorrow, or in the next week. Okay. So after you do something, you will get an email from me. And the subject of that email is, did your dog pee on the floor? ? Okay. If you get that email, you will fully understand why I said it, and you will crack up now that you know it's coming. Okay. So when Alex, Shane, you're muted. I hear you talking, but you're muted. I see you talking.
I was going to say, everybody wants that email now, right?
Yeah, everybody's like, wait, where do we sign up? Where do we sign up right now?
So,
We know
promise
exactly
you,
what you're doing. We know what you're doing,
there's
Anthony.
a place where we're going to give you a link shortly that if you follow certain steps, you will get that email from me. I promise you. And I'll make it one better. The first person to get that email and follow the action in that email, I will personally get on a call with you for 15 to 30 minutes and walk through anything that you want in your ad account. Okay, so first person to get that email, you need to forward it directly to me, whether, I don't care, you could do it on Facebook Messenger. If you have my email address, that's fine. First person to get that email and actually takes the action within that email, you get a 15 to 30 minute call with me, absolutely on me.
I love it. Adding value right there.
Adding value.
I love it. Speaking of value, thank you so much, Olivia, for the comment. I really appreciate that. I'm glad you're seeing value out of this, so I appreciate that.
What's the comment? What was the comment? Hang on.
Olivia says, this is such good stuff right here. I've taken many classes in school about psychology of words and how our brain works, color theory and art theory, and this helps so much in making ads, graphics, and any media.
Right, because everything we're talking about tonight, like, this applies to not just the ads. This applies if you're a real estate agent and you're doing, postcards. This applies to the marketing and, as a marketer, not just to the ads you're building for your clients, but for your prospecting as well, and the emails that you're writing and the stuff you're adding to your business pages and your personal profile and the posts you're putting, like everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely everything. Yeah.
No wonder you were so into my background the other day. You're like, wait, you can just randomly change the colors? Like, this is perfect for what I do. You're like, green, time to buy.
Yeah. So I have a question for you, Alex. As a person that I don't know if you know this about me, and can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Alex, I don't know if you know this about me, but I know that Matt and Anthony know this, and other people that are watching. But so I could barely write in English when I was 21, so about 20 years ago. And so my confidence level in terms of copywriting and stuff is pretty low. Although Matt thinks I do decent copy, I still struggle even to this day, even like writing emails, proposals, things like that. The type of stuff that you're talking about, is this teachable? Like, is this something
Absolutely.
that like somebody like me or anybody else out there that struggles with, running a new business and because I think this is a big part now of a business, right? Like, you need to know how to do this stuff effectively in order to get ahead, right? And can you learn this stuff fairly easily?
Yep. Absolutely. And easy. It's interesting that you say that about learning it. I, in many cases, had to relearn it. And what I mean by that is my university degrees and philosophy writing and legal studies writing and all of that sort of stuff was actually in many ways a detriment.
Alex laughs at me all the time because the way I write copy, I write the way I speak, and he loves that.
Loves it.
He'll make edits what I do, but like, He's like, no. He's like, the way you speak is the way you market, right? He's like, the way he tells me this all the time. He's like, the way he learned how to, write English and write essays and do all that stuff. He's like, it hurt him because he's writing proper English. And I'm like, no. I'm like, wait just one more second. Hold on. And like the way I write is the way I speak. And he's like, that's marketing, right? That's what people resonate with.
So it's good if we use Temi to do our copy then.
As long as the person can do a good job of relating to someone in person, which I know you do, Shane. I know all you guys do. Like, as long as if you can get somebody on the phone and convince them, there's no difference between that and what you're doing in writing. There are some basics, there are some things that we'll go over, but at its core, you want to write like you talk, which is kind of amazing. You start, I'll give you an example. Okay. Direct response marketing says to say the same thing over and over and over and over again, because we don't remember something that's only necessarily given to us once. We remember things that are drilled in multiple times and ideally in multiple ways, different formats, stated slightly differently, things like that. But if you were to go essay style and you had 3 paragraphs, you were to go to, turn something in at university and you had 3 paragraphs back to back that all talked about the same thing, what would your professor do? Scratch, combine all of these together, right?
Yup.
Yep, exactly right.
You're like, you got 1 paragraph, now go write the other 2.
Right, exactly. But in direct response, in marketing copy, the whole concept is I don't care that it's there multiple times because this isn't a professor. This is somebody who oftentimes needs it. I brought this up earlier today, but every election cycle, we hear about what the average reading rate is, right? What the average sort of rate is and what you want to write at. And we end up anywhere between, like, depending on what you're doing and so on, anywhere between 3rd and 7th grade. Mm-hmm. If you're writing for a blog, you're writing for ads, you're writing emails, stuff like that to the general populace, you're talking like 5th, 6th grade writing. We're not talking about crazy high school, very formal, etc. And even if funny enough, there are even stuff in textbooks. In Dan Kennedy's Ultimate Sales Letter, one of the things he talks about is the concept that he used to include errors on purpose to elicit responses from people.
Well, that's the best, right? When you see the marketer send an email and then the next email 30 minutes later, correction, sorry, like this was wrong, right? And then you see it and you're like, oh, what was wrong in the last email? And you wind up reading both emails.
You want to know what's funny? There are actually 2 psychology concepts in that.
Yep.
So the one is that the error itself will get people's attention to begin with, right? So errors stand out to some people. And if you're getting their attention, that's ideal because they're still going to remember the message, even though it wasn't perfect. Then when you publish the correction, what are you doing? You're admitting a mistake. Mm-hmm. You're admitting a fault with yourself. If people think you're perfect, they don't relate to you. Think about that. If people think you're perfect, if people think absolutely everything you do is perfect, they never relate to you. They never consider you one of the group.
But what I am perfect.
That's why people relate to that so much.
But hang on, let's see. Where I gotta find this comment real quick because we saw this one earlier. Do you know what I'm talking about, Shane?
Yeah, it's on my profile.
It's on your profile. Like I think it was about the course and
grammar.
What did he say? Did you even proofread this? That was the comment.
He's watching, by the way.
Yes.
Like, nope. Ready, fire, aim.
Now, don't get me wrong.
Aim.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. You don't want it necessarily filled with errors, and you don't want it to look overly sloppy. But once you've done a good job building your brand, building your content, all that sort of stuff, a mispunctuation here and there, a miss this or that, or a run-on sentence, or whatever it might be, those things are honestly big picture. Don't worry about it, and certainly don't let the fear of things like that stop you from learning this stuff. In reality, if you can...
Sorry to interrupt, Alex, but I also feel like there are certain areas, like there are certain things that you do in your business that where you can make those kinds of mistakes, but there's also other areas in your business where you may want to be a little bit more careful about that kind of stuff. So, for example, if you're doing a post on Facebook, well, the mistakes, like, not a big deal, right? Like once in a while, whatever. Like, but if you're communicating with a client over email and you're talking about proposals and pricing,
Absolutely.
things like that, like those are the places where you want to start being careful about what you're doing. You want to be having mistakes and grammar errors and things like that, because then that's going to reflect that in terms of like, okay, well, if you can't be careful about what you're writing to me in an email, what are you going to do for me when you're working for me, right? Like, so there are certain areas I think you need to be a little bit more careful than other areas.
Agreed. I mean, for me, it's if you have typos and errors in a couple $1 million VC proposal, yeah, we're moving on. Like, it's over, right?
Yeah, that's very noticeable. That's
right.
not that. When I used to do we used to do a lot of hiring, and we get like hundreds of resumes. And the first thing we would do, number one thing, we'd scan them all, right, really, really quickly. Anything with errors, in the garbage can, in the garbage can, in the garbage can, anything with a grammar, punctuation, anything, right? It's like, if you can't spend the time to make sure that your resume is not perfect, then like, that's the first thing we're going to filter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it comes down to your body of content too, right? If someone has only ever seen one piece of your work and they see an error, it's not the best. Yeah. But if someone has seen, 40 different pieces from you and one of them has an error, so what? Right? We're humans. We'd make mistakes. That's who we are. It happens. And like I said, don't let those kinds of fears hold you back from taking this stuff and using it and learning it and all that sort of stuff.
I think to even take that a step further, Alex, it's like, people want to be perfect all the time. It's in our nature to not want anybody to think badly about us or poorly about us, or not think we're smart enough or we don't know enough, this and that, right? I think the most important lesson to learn there is like, by taking action, even if you're making some sort of error in it, at least you're taking action. You know what? Like, if someone says to you, oh, you spelled this word wrong, you know what? They took the time to read what you wrote, right? They looked through it. So you know what? Yeah, you know what? You made a spelling mistake or you made a grammar mistake, but you know what? You said enough right where that person actually read through what you put out. So that's taking action is sometimes more than half the battle, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. Your business doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing has to be perfect. But if you're putting the content out there and you're willing to just try to make it happen, you're going to get some sort of response. And especially if you learn how to do this in the right way, it's going to make a difference in your overall business, and maybe not just your business, but the clients that you have and what it's going to do for their business, right?
Now, think about it this way, right? Someone gets an email with a super valuable report that they've been really worried about for months, but there's a missed, apostrophe in one place in the paragraph in the email. Are those people not going to go download that report? No, they don't care. Right? If it's valid, then that comes back to our first concept, which is at its core, if it's valuable to them, the rest of this kind of is pieces to how well it does, but not the bulk of how well this is going to do.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. And you got to remember, if the people are reading at like a 3rd to a 7th grade level, how many of them can actually correct your grammar in the first place?
Right. How many people are going to even notice it?
Yeah, right? So, I mean...
let me put it this way. So the page that we had for the capture earlier today? Mm-hmm. That went through all of us, right? My content director caught a typo.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. We changed it. It's fixed. We're all set. But there were 7 or 8 of us at a very high level who read all of this content, and it was my professional content director who caught one typo in the entire thing. Now this is
that's why they're there,
right? Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I wrote that. Not gonna lie, that was all me.
That's why I send voice recordings. I'm like, can't grammar check that. Sorry. Why does Matt always send voice? Because he can't do anything with grammar, so he just voice.
I like it.
But if you guys are watching live, if you guys are enjoying this, let us know down in the comments below, #live, or if you watch the replay, #replay. Also, if you're enjoying this, let us know. The comments have been kind of quiet. We're kind of wondering, are you guys still out there?
Some questions
going on? Are we the last people alive?
So Jimmy and Ed, we can teach your lives that perfect isn't ideal. You just have to bring them on the show, and we're glad to teach them that. We will put ads together with them, or at least teach them how to, and we will make it and that you don't even need much to get results. We'll teach them how to do it. Just come next week.
Good enough is good enough, as they say.
Good enough. Getting it out there is more important than anything.
It's very true. It's very true. It's
all right, we're approaching 9:15. It's 9:09. It's getting there. So 9:09 Eastern time, I should say, for those of you in other parts of the world. If you are excited, if you are kind of ready to see what's coming next, just throw a comment in. Tell us, give us something. Give us a
smash the like button, hit the heart button, make the wow face, do it all.
Something, make something happen. I want to see some likes, some love. There it is. There it is. Here we go. Here, I'll even do something.
Just smashing the keyboard and hitting enter. There we go.
Oh, that's funny.
People are gonna like go to that. They're gonna see that. They're like, "What?" When they're watching.
I was really drunk on Whiskey Thursday, huh?
Alex, what are you doing with that martini? Let me see where you're at.
Was that number 3?
No, that's still the first one. We got to get that down. We still got a lot of questions to ask Alex. We got to have him make another one. We got to get him.
All right, fine.
He starts talking again.
Here we go.
Here it is. Alex coming in hot. Hold on, let me plug myself in. My phone is about to die. This is like a whole mess I got going on. I'm like, I'm not in the office. This is like.
Hashtag drink.
Yeah. Hashtag get Alex drunk. Chris, what's good? How you doing, man?
Oh man,
I'd like to know who's watching. Actually, just drop something in the comments. I want to see. There's 25 people watching right now. One of them is me. The other one's Matt. I can see him staring down at his computer. But if you're watching, just drop like a number 1 down on the bottom so we can give you a shout out here. Jimmy, I saw your comment here. I have the exact same problem. So, and my wife's actually, I think she's got a master's degree in English, which is, it's actually not that bad because, so she's been watching a lot of the kind of stuff that we do, and because we run our ads and things like that. So she's, most of the time she's just correcting grammar mistakes and things like that because I make a shit ton of them. So.
Olivia is my new favorite person.
I just saw the comment too.
Olivia, what is up?
Oh my gosh.
Calm down. Oh my God.
We got all the boys tonight. That's for sure.
Yeah, so we got Olivia here who's getting a little. Olivia's getting wild tonight.
Yeah, I think that's the Tuesday show. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. Alina's here. Good to see you, Alina. Nice to see you. DJ's here, or DG Gregory is here. Joe, what is up? Still with us tonight. Nice to see you guys. So.
Buttons on shirts.
Big news.
While you guys do that, I'll be right back.
I don't know what you're announcing, but I'll be back when you're done.
Well, honestly, before I get too much further into it, what I do want to mention is, obviously tonight is a casual discussion about all this sort of stuff. The master's class itself that we're doing is really, really full of examples of headlines that we use, right? Tests, A/B tests of what we've been testing and what we've worked with, and bodies and content and bait pieces that we use and all that sort of stuff. It's really, really very specific. I don't know, Anthony, do you want to you've seen it, so it's hard to try to drill down what we're doing tonight as the theory of it versus what the master's class is, which is really the hands-on, what you can use in your business stuff.
There's really no other way to put it. So Alex is the guy that I've been going to for years. You guys know who I am. Bunch of clients. We do, a lot of advertising on a monthly basis. Mm-hmm. And Alex is still the guy that literally month after month, week after week, I still run ads by. I write a new ad. Alex takes a look at it. He's like, oh, change this, put this here. This would sound better if it was this way. You should change this up to here. And when I asked him to get on, he was like, listen, he's like, you know what I charge on an hourly basis? He's like, I'm not just going to I'm not just going to come on to like for fun, this and that. But I was like, listen, I was like, do me a favor. I'm like, this group is growing like crazy. A lot of marketers, there's a lot of real estate agents in here that could really benefit from understanding the psychology behind why copy works the way it does, why photos work the way they do, why videos work the way they do, why using certain media and certain copy in certain situations makes a real difference. And I was able to, you know, kind of twist his arm a little bit, and he agreed to do it. He didn't need to. He certainly didn't have to. And again, like Alex does this for me because I know him for a long time, right? Mm-hmm. And I knew that so many people could benefit from this. And when I had the real discussion with him, he said, listen, he's like, I'll do it one time. He's like, I don't know if I'll ever do it again, but I'll give this a shot. And so as soon as he agreed to it, I immediately turned around and said, Alex, listen, there's one more thing. And he was like, what? I was like, I don't want you to teach a class that you've already taught. You got to make a whole fucking new one. And he was like, what do you mean? He's like, you know how I am. I was just going to take a couple pieces. I was like, no. I'm like, you got to take this from a whole new world. You know, there's so many marketers, especially in this group, only been in the business for 3 months, 6 months, a year. They don't have the kind of experience that some of us do, right? Like I've been in the marketing world for 12, 15 years. Alex has been here for 10, 12 years. We have a different level of expertise than a very large majority of the people in here. So I was like, we got to take this back. We got to take this to a level where people can not only understand it, but they can get something real out of the class. And he reluctantly agreed to, he was like, all right, fine. He's like, I'll make a new class and maybe I'll repackage that class one day. And I was like, that's fine, as long as this is the first place you teach it. So, you know, listen, it's 9:15. So I'm just going to throw it in there. I'm going to copy this link. Okay. So here is the absolute deal for this. You guys know how these masterclasses work. We're going to be doing things a little differently moving forward. In the past, a lot of people have come on one time, even myself, right? I came on one time, I did an update and there was no replays, there was no nothing. Of course, Lou. Yeah, why don't you bark now? This is the perfect time.
He made it this far.
So I was like, listen, we got to change this up a little bit because I know there's going to be people who join the group in 6 months, a year, when we're at 20, 30, 40, 50,000 members that are going to want this information. So we're going to do two things here. One, let me go grab this dog before I kill him. Hold on.
Well, in the meantime,
that was quicker than I thought he was running around. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of things here. So number one is we are going to massively discount the masterclass. I think so many people in this group can benefit from understanding the psychology of copywriting, the real reasons behind it. So until tomorrow at midnight, it is Thursday at 9:15 right now. Okay. So 26 hours and 44 minutes from now. Okay. This class is going to be $97. Okay. It's that simple. Okay. Until midnight tomorrow. Now, I promise you at midnight tomorrow, because I coded it in today, the price is going up. Okay. So I'm going to make this really simple. I'm going to put a link in the comments. If you want to learn how to write copy, if you want to learn from Alex, I will be moderating the class. Alex will be teaching the class. I told him it will be an hour and a half. I also told him it can go up to 3 hours. So
yeah, pretty much.
Ask your questions. You're going to have direct access to him. You're going to be able to ask whatever you want. He is going to go through a ton of information. He's going to go through basics. He's going to go through intermediate stuff. I don't know how expert level he's going to get. That's going to be up to him. And it might even depend a little bit on how the class actually goes and the questions that are asked.
I want to hear from you guys. So whether it be on this post, on the one Matt did earlier, I'm following all of them. Post your comments, questions, things you want to learn about. Like Anthony said, I'm tailoring this a little bit for you guys. I'm really building this for you guys. In that we really want to know what you want to learn in terms of this concept. Now, when I say I'm building this for you and it's a new course, keep in mind, I've spoken in like 30 states and 5 provinces in Canada. And like this whole teaching and building courses thing is not exactly new. So, it's a lot of content that we've used and we use in our business, but it's, like I said, it is valuable and we want to hear your questions and comments, figuring out what's what you want, what you guys want to learn. So any questions? People have questions.
What are some of the things you're planning so far? Like, what are some of the things that you like really want to put in there? Because those are just have to know these things.
Absolutely. So one of the things we're going to go through is we talked about already, which is the drill to figure out your ideal client and their pain and pleasure points. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about headlines, right? And the real big concept with all of this is get it opened, get it read, get it responded to. Mm-hmm. Those are our three main goals. I'll say it again: get it opened, get it read, get it responded to. Right. Mm-hmm. Now, when we say opened in terms of Facebook ads, we're really thinking about that stop scrolling concept as opposed to opening an email kind of a thing. It's very much the same. You're stopping to interact with that content. But all of the psychology, all of the things that we're going to be talking about relate to those core concepts. What do we do to get this opened or looked at to begin with? What do we do to get people actually reading this? And then what do we do to get people to respond to it? And then we'll go into a bunch of tips and tricks that are all based on the psychology of it, whether it be headlines, extending the body into the copy, mentioned it earlier, but things like pattern interrupts or social proof, and we can go on with different concepts, but those sorts of concepts play through in the get it open, get it read, get it responded to.
Well, and what are some examples of these things for anybody who's not really familiar with this world and they're hearing, pattern interrupts and they're like, that's a pattern interrupt because I have no idea what that is. Like, what are some of these things that we're talking about? Because we're using like lingo from the niche that some people may not be familiar with, right? They may be plugging and playing these copy or the ad copy they've purchased in one of the other masterclass or something like that. So,
boy, if only I prepared for tonight.
There you go.
Pattern interrupts are the concept. It's the same thing you guys mentioned in terms of using emojis in ads.
Okay.
Right? Get people what are called thumb stoppers as it become a popular term. That thumb stopper, as they're scrolling, they stop to look at whatever it is. Things like those emojis, things like that are different from everything people are scrolling through or looking at in their email or whatever it might be, because you're interrupting the pattern in somebody's brain. They actually have to stop and think about it for a second. They're not just continuing to scroll or continuing to delete emails, right? Because we all get into our emails and we're like, delete, 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 right? If you interrupt the pattern of that delete, 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 then someone actually has to take the time to go into it. So we go into some different strategies for what you can do. Like we're talking about with ads, using emojis, using things like that. The psychology concept is the quote unquote pattern interrupt. But like I said, thumb stoppers is probably what you guys have heard of or what our group has heard of in terms of Facebook ads and that sort of marketing.
So the pattern interrupt, basically it's something that's going to get somebody from who's scrolling to stop, right? It's that hot guy or girl on Tinder as they're swiping that, wait a sec, that's the pattern interrupt.
Exactly. Right. Okay. Or things that are generally different. And for the Brunson, he gives this mentality of the swim for blue ocean, right? The whole concept of if everybody is there doing the same thing, the water gets really bloody. If the water's bloody, you can't see anything in the water. How do you strike? Right? It's very similar to that in that if everything someone's looking at is very much the same and it's all identical, well, does anything stand out in that? Not really. The concepts of things like this are how do we get it to stand out, to be different, to be something that's changed. Now, the interesting part about pattern interrupts is they're also related to what are common, meaning if everyone on the planet is using 2 emojis in one line in their ads, well, stop freaking doing that. You're not interrupting any pattern whatsoever, right? That's what everybody's doing. Once everybody is doing that thing, you're just falling in line with everybody else. The concept is to figure out what they're doing and say, how the hell can I do this different? Right? That's really the concept of things like that. And we get into a lot of that sort of stuff. We talked about one earlier today, which is the whole frustrating English teachers concept. Piss off your English teachers. That's a big one that we go into, and we give away some different websites and tools that people can use to take their content, take their writing, and have other sources basically say this is at this level and these words are really good. And these are things that are spiritual or empathetic or critical thinking type things, and why to stay away or stay towards some of those different things. So we'll give away those tools inside the class itself. So yeah, those are some examples. But when we get into the real core examples of it, it's not like we just talk about, say, a headline and go, here's a really great headline and here's some ideas about it. After each of which I include the whole, hey, these are great headlines and here are some examples, right? Like, let me think of some good ones here. Okay, here's one. Actually, you made me think of one the other day, which is one of the biggest ones. You mentioned YouTube, right?
Yeah, Matt was talking about how he got deep in a 4-hour YouTube hole.
Yep.
Yeah. YouTube uses very much the same thing, and one of their biggest things is how to. Right? One of the biggest categories, one of the biggest types of videos on YouTube is how-to videos. How do I do this? How do I do that? How to X, right?
Yep.
That is one of those emotional triggers because people are always looking for, how do I do X? It's something that's constantly on their mind. If they're relating to a topic, they're always saying, how do I? Another one we love is thousands now can do X, even though they thought they never could. Right? Thousands have been able to close on their mortgage, even though they thought they never could.
Right.
Want to find out how?
Click the link below.
Click the link below. Right?
Yep.
But those kinds of things. Here's the other one. This is called a qualifying question, which is, if you are, you can. If your credit score is above X, you can qualify for a home worth so on.
Yeah, makes people think like, oh, I can buy a house.
I can do that.
Oh, I can get
Right?
out. If you're paying $2,000 a month in
I wish
rent,
people would stop putting those ads out.
right?
Exactly.
Like if you're paying $2,000 a month in rent, you can afford a $350,000 house, right? Like, oh, really? I can pay $2,000 a month in rent. I can afford a $350,000 house. That sounds great.
Right. Exactly. In fact, one of the examples I pulled was HubSpot every year puts out their top emails, headlines in terms of what people click through to, what people actually read, etc. Number 12 on their list was Zillow.
Yeah, interesting enough.
Do you know what the title was?
No.
What can you afford? That was the number one email Zillow sent all of last year. What can you afford? That's it.
Interesting.
Now, keep in mind, number 10 on that list, above number 12, the subject line was, do not open this email.
Like, do not open this email.
Oh my gosh.
Open the shit out of that email.
Right? And that's your typical reverse psychology.
Right.
Right? But at every turn, as we start going through these headlines, what works, what we know works, we're basing it on a core concept going, oh, this psychological concept works in people's brains like X, so it probably has a really good chance of working when it comes to. I mean, even earlier today, we talked about one of the sentences that we were using, Anthony, and it was funny because both of us knew the reference where we were pulling it from. It was straight out of the Perfect Webinar. I mean, it was fill in the blanks kind of a thing, but it's literally straight out of something we know works because of some reason we know why it works. And it's funny to me because, we see these things working, we know why they're working, but we're surprised every time they do. I don't get that.
So true. So true.
Right?
I know this works and I'm going to use it here. And then when it works, you're like, oh my gosh, it worked. Every time. Every time. Like, it's still every time.
It's so true. It's so true. And it never stops. I've done this and you have for how many years now? And every time it's like, oh yeah, that still works. No shit. Okay, cool.
Well, that's why all the direct response marketers, are still doing what they're doing because it still works. Even in email.
Still paying them month after month, day after day, week after week. Like they are still cleaning up because they know exactly what they're doing. The same shit still working from 20 years ago that it is exactly today.
So, we have a comment here and I kind of want to respond to this. Jimmy writes, How to help a real estate broker / owner recruit and motivate the agents in their office who are independent. So Jimmy, what are you looking to do? Are you looking for something where a broker is recruiting people, or are you trying to recruit brokers to then come into your service and use your services to recruit agents? Because it's very different in terms of what that title would be. So we'll wait and Jimmy can comment here.
Okay.
But I do want to go into that because it's a really good example in that the very first concept we talked about, which is what's important to them, right? If it's a real estate agent and that title is trying to target an individual real estate agent to switch brokerages, why does an agent care, right? How to help a real estate broker owner recruit? I'm guessing that's more toward broker owners recruiting. And I would go more towards something that's like a, looking for more agents. Do you want more agents? Are you looking to grow your office by 25%? If you have stats of things you've done before, grow your office by 25% in under a year, even though you thought you never could. Grow the number of agents in your office by 20%, even though you thought you never could, right? Titles like that, where it's drilling first at what they're looking to do, followed by the whatever it might be, the qualifier type comment.
Makes sense. Now, tell us a little bit about like some of the results or whatnot people have been able to get from this training and what you've been able to like take them from, they were doing X and you're able to do this now, right? Or like they got their open rate up by X% and what that means. I mean,
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about some of the results and some of the differences this has made for people.
So because it's not necessarily two things. One, this course is just for you guys. So this is going to be the very first teaching of this specific master's course.
Yep.
So I don't have a specific, this is done X from
Right.
the exact course. But that being said, I can show people tons of testimonials between Service for Life, 3 Steps, all the different content we have where people are going, this has transformed the business. This is getting responses like we thought it never would. Especially the letter, the written pieces, the actual Service for Life newsletter. What we hear.
I don't mean to interrupt you here, but let's talk about the bonus that you offered for class real quick.
Yeah.
Because it's probably one of the most ridiculous bonuses that I would think that you guys have ever offered in this group, number one. And number two, you discounted this thing almost $2,000 because you wanted people to have it. I think you discounted the thing like $1,600 and change dollars.
Yeah.
And I know that this is, again, been around for a while, but it's one of those things that just absolutely works. So why don't you talk a little bit about 3 Steps and kind of what that is and the ridiculous's of the 90, what is it, 80, or was it? Yeah, it's a 90% discount.
Yeah.
This masterclass.
So I'm almost like regretting it, but I'm not, but I am.
Let's get to it.
So as part of the master's class, we're offering something in addition to it. One of the things that we bought from Craig Fort is a product called 3 Steps Ultimate, Real Estate Success System. And what it is over the years, Craig built out a huge content library of everything from sales letters to postcards to Craigslist ads to Facebook ads and posts to and it just goes on and on and on about how to systemize your business, how to get leads in your business, and then what you can do to follow up with them and drive business from the people you already have and your past clients, the referral people. And it comes with over 120 different systems. Original cost on it was almost $1,700. We sell it for, at the discount, $495 if people are doing other stuff. But for you guys, I discounted it even more than that. Anthony, what did we bring it down to?
$197. I don't know how I could just do that. I'm not complaining about it. But literally, if you could go to his website right now, if you want it, it's $500. So, I mean, it's just, I don't even know.
What are we selling it for with the group?
You're selling it for, so the upsell here is $197. But I think that your actual pricing was $1997. or was it? I don't remember what their actual pricing was.
It was about 1,700 for the actual price.
Yeah, 1797 or 1697, something like that. And then you guys, you were like, yeah, just do it for 197. So I don't get it. I'm not complaining. I'm just gonna let you keep talking because maybe you'll get shit away.
I'm just coming into this because my internet's acting up.
She's like, what are we giving away?
Shane's like, wait, did Matt give something away that he did not know? It wasn't me, Shane. It's these guys.
Yeah. So one of the products that we have is a product called 3 Steps Ultimate. It is an entire content bank of sales letters, postcards, Craigslist ads, all sorts of, different sort of stuff that is essentially the content bank you can use to do one of 3 things: generate new cold leads, use the people you're already working with to drive more business, or use your past clients, friends, and family to drive business, because those are the only 3 places that you actually can get business from in the real estate industry.
That's pretty cool.
If you're still having this, hint, hint, wink, wink, about 95% of the ads I use come from this 3 steps program. Alex charged me a shitload more money, for lack of a better way to put it, in order to get access to them. So all of you, you know what I want to say? Honestly, there's only 100 you're going to get it. So, I hate all of you.
So we, and just to give you an idea of this, so we've sold, over the years, we've sold 16,000 of these. So there are 16,000 agents who sell, who have used, and so on, who do use 3 steps, who have accounts with 3 steps. So it's a reasonably sizable group. And since this was an absolute cap of 100 people in the class, and it's the first run with you guys, I really wanted to, come out of the gate just given absolutely ridiculous value. So as one of the upsells, as one of the things that you can get with the class, instead of being the almost $1,700 that we would normally charge, we're bringing that down to $197 because it's such a limited offer for you guys.
And that's only for anybody who purchases the Copywriting That Converts course.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
Cool. Well, it sounds exciting. I think I'm going to buy it.
The crazy part is that this to us.
Yeah.
I think we all have to
Come
buy
on,
it.
Matt,
I
your
think I
credit
have
card.
to buy it in order to be a part. I think I have to buy it in order to host it.
That's awesome. Matt, get your credit card out.
Yeah, right. It's always out. You know me.
It's always out.
Of course.
You just bought it at a course just recently.
That's my motto. Course, of course.
Of course.
I love it.
Well, listen, guys, we're really excited about this. I think it's going to be really good. I think this is something that's completely different than what we typically do. And this applies, I think, to anybody, right? Anybody running a business, any real estate agent, anybody out there. It's really awesome.
Not just about the ads, right? It's about why we make these ads and how do you get people to respond to them. It's not just about real estate or mortgage or title or attorney or anything like that, right? It's about getting yourself understand.
Are we getting
why you're ready.
spammed?
What are you saying?
The Jules thing, I see that
Yeah.
too. I don't know.
I can't see what's going on there.
We're getting spammed on the live feed?
We must be that cool.
We're that cool today. All right. Thank you, Jules, for whatever it was.
I don't see
What
anything.
we get spammed with?
I don't know. I just went to the page and it's all tourist maps. So I don't know exactly. It looks like somebody's trying to pitch a Fiverr gig or something.
That's cool. Fuck. There you go. Always be selling.
And that brings, what's funny? That brings me to another thing we're going to cover in the class, which is instead of the always be selling or always be closing, one thing we truly believe as marketers is always be testing. And we're going to cover a little bit of some of the best strategies and things like that you can do in terms of how do you A/B test stuff? What is really good in terms of A/B testing?
Awesome.
Because you guys do a ton of that in your business, don't you? With your ads, at least from what I've seen. I don't.
We just know what works, so we don't have to test.
Yeah. But how much money did you spend testing before that?
I rely on Matt wasting his money, and I just use what he has.
Yeah, perfect. You get all the benefit and none of the downs. Great.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be, I think it's going to be a really cool class. I think at first I was like, copywriting. I mean, but when you really think about this, and again, it's not just about the ads, right? I mean, it's about everything in your business. I think this is going to be really, really cool. And I think it's an area that a lot of people just don't focus on. They kind of forget about, and they're relying on what everybody else is doing. And then when something breaks, they don't really know what to do.
Very true. And I want to ask you this, Anthony, because I know this is something that you and I have gone through a lot. After taking, and this kind of goes back to Matt's question, which is, what is it saved? What is it produced for people? All that sort of stuff. You and I have obviously spent a good bit of time together, and I've kind of worked in teaching you a lot. I mean, we've learned a lot from each other, but I've kind of, helped to teach you some of this stuff. How much time do you save consistently because of the things that we've gone over?
I mean, it's kind of outrageous, right? Like I basically took July off this year, and my clients still made, a ton of money. So how much time do I save? I don't even know if I can put that into a real number, but if I had to pay somebody at your level a fee to basically look at every ad that I had and, kind of work me through everything, I'd be spending a fortune every year. Like I realistically would, right? So it's not even just a time value or a money value, but the amount of knowledge that I've gained just in being able to kind of gear my ads towards the right direction, right? Like, and you could probably remember this from years ago when I was doing AIM Open House, and the kind of ads I was writing were fucking nonsense, right? Like they were like dumb ads I was writing. And he was like, why? Like, nobody cares about this. Why is this whole paragraph here?
Actually, you want to tell them the story about the first set of ads we did and the amount of money that made on one campaign over a weekend on our bet?
Yeah.
We bet dinner one night on a campaign. I'll let you tell the story.
This realistically happened. So for those of you who don't know, I own an app called AIM Open House, and it was a free app for the first 2-3 years that I owned it. I made money on the back end, basically, through advertising and selling leads to mortgage brokers and whatnot. So I got to a point where someone made an offer on the company, and I sent them the books, and they had really good numbers. But the issue was there's no front end revenue. There was only back end revenue, meaning if everybody stopped using my app tomorrow, then there was no revenue coming in because it was all dependent on agents doing open houses and generating leads. So I was like, okay. So I called Alex, and I think you had just sold Barcode at the time, right? Or it was like maybe a couple.
It was right about then, about a few months after.
Right about then. And I was like, Alex, listen, I got this offer. I told him the number. He's like, oh, it's a great offer. I'm like, yeah, but they're not going to go through with the deal because already front end revenue. He's like, all right, so generate front end revenue. I was like, I don't. When you say things like that, like I don't know what you mean. What do you mean generate front end revenue? You make it sound so simple. He's like, well, just like take out a couple things that your high level users use and just charge them for it. I was like, okay, how much do I charge them? He's like, charge them $100 a year. Okay. So this is like March, a couple of years ago, maybe February. And I'm like, okay, so I break out all these things. I hire a guy to break all the stuff out and put it behind the paywall and the whole deal. And so I got at the time, I think I had like a 70 or 80,000 users on the app. And I'm like, all right, so it's like I don't know, it was like a Thursday or Friday, or maybe a Wednesday. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna send this email out. Like, this is gonna be like a mess. I can't believe I'm turning a paywall on, this and that. It's gonna be fine, don't worry. I'm like, listen, if I make 10 grand this weekend, I'm like, when I come up to see you in Vermont, like dinner's on me. Okay. So again, I don't remember if it was a Wednesday or Thursday, but within 6 hours, I made like $70,000. Yeah, I was like, oh, it was like 70 grand. And literally it was like hours later. And I was like, oh, this is fun. within 2 months of that, we had done almost $750,000, and it was unbelievable. And I was like, this is the cool shit. Because now I had front end revenue that was year over year, right? Recurring revenue that was coming in next year again. And then I also had back end revenue where we were taking leads and we were selling. And I was like, this is a win-win all the way around. And basically that entire email that I wrote and the way I basically said to them, hey, listen, we've been a free product for 3 years, and we're at a point where now we need revenue. And we went through this whole thing. And I basically told my users, I'm like, listen, like I love you guys, but I'm not going to keep footing the bill for you. and he just made it sound better than that. And everybody just basically was like, for $100 a year, of course we'll buy it. Like, we love your app. So it was just crazy because I probably could have done it a year or two before. And I was like, I probably left $1 million, $2 million on the table. Like, this is crazy.
Right.
But it was really interesting to kind of see the way those emails went out. And like, it was right when like you could even like start sending messages to people who were who were on your page. You could start messaging. It was like a whole, like, it was an interesting time in marketing because nobody really knew what they were doing, in the fact that like emails, obviously everybody knew, but like, especially when it came to like bot marketing, like nobody knew what the hell was going on. Like, I had customer service, right? And like, I was like, oh, this is just easy. I don't have to have someone doing customer service for me. But then I had like 30,000 people subscribe to a bot, and I sent a message out that Alex wrote, and like, it converted, right? There was hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales attributed to that bot message. So it was just, it's really interesting to me. And I've told you guys this, like, to this day, every time I talk to Alex, like, I learned something else. You know? Like, I think I know everything. I want to believe I know everything. I just don't. And so it's like, it's nice to have somebody who I can really defer to that really gets it, right? Like, and Alex would say the same thing when it comes to advertising, right? Like, he doesn't know anything about advertising. He thinks he does. But like, when he really wants to do something, he calls me.
Yeah, if it's hardcore targeting and hardcore, how are we building stuff in Ads Manager? How are we like, how is this all getting rolled out? I go to Anthony. I flipped the script. In fact, 3 Steps, our brand new 3-step system, when we had to update it from the old one, guess who I hired to help do that?
Built the whole thing for him.
Right? So we pass this stuff back and forth all the time and help make each other's businesses
more money.
A lot of money. A lot of money.
Yeah. Alex, we're going to have to talk about something that we can make a dinner bet on. So I don't know what it is, but we'll figure it out. So.
It was the best $300 dinner I've ever paid.
Right? You were like, whatever you want. From McDonald's.
I went to Burlington, and he lives in Burlington, and he lives like a couple blocks. I forgot the name of the steak place, but no joke. I was like, we'll take all the sides. We'll take the seafood tower. We're getting steaks.
This side of the
wine. I was like, Alex,
yeah.
Nice.
We bet on 10 grand and it ended up being 70.
Yeah, it was like a nonsense number. I was like, that worked out.
You know, and the crazy part was when we did the numbers on 10 grand, the reason we did that is it made sense in terms of what you were getting offered for the company at the time. Right. We figured, okay, if we can make this amount of money with these different deals, these different things will make sense. And then the funny part was, because we blew it out of the water so ridiculously, you didn't sell the company.
It's a true story.
We're like, oh shit, I can make too much money on this. It's not good enough. I'm not going to sell it.
That guy wanted him to give me a down payment and then me to finance it. And I already had a down payment from him. So he wanted to change the contract. I was like, so either you find the financing or I'll just keep your down payment. And you can't have my new books because you made the offer on my previous books. Oh, bye.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that was a good day.
Well, we're going to wrap it up pretty quick here. But if you guys have questions about the upcoming masterclass, if you have questions that you want to know, like, I don't know, anything about ad copy that you're curious about, anything. Ed said, are we going to be covering things like written tie downs and embedded commands?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. And just to give you an example, the embedded command concept is something where
I don't know what that means. Like you just said, I don't know what that is.
So it's the concept of an embedded command is driving action, giving people action items as part of what you're doing. So as opposed to asking people to do something, telling them to do something actively and embedding it in a way where it doesn't come off as a you're not a drill sergeant, but you almost can subconsciously guide them into taking a specific action. I'll get more into it. We have some really good examples of that sort of stuff, but yeah, there's a lot that we'll go over with that.
Yeah. The embedded commands, the tie downs, all that is going to be amazing. Yeah. So I'm pretty stoked about this one. I'm pretty stoked. I'm excited to be there. I love the psychology behind advertising, behind sales, behind all of that stuff. As his embedded commands are gold. Yes, they totally are gold. I wondered if they were working as well as I thought they were working when I was using them. initially for listing appointments, and I never had the guts to stop using them because I didn't want to not take a listing.
So couple of housekeeping items here. Chris, what's up, buddy? Cough, back at you. Thomas, beta students have access. So masterclasses are totally different now. The masterclasses are no longer part of the beta student program. They are totally broken off in a different sect of the company. In a couple months, we will be coming out with a program for all of the masterclasses, like moving forward year over year. But at this time, nothing is going to be included with any sort of beta access or anything like that. So this is a totally separate class and moving forward. Sorry, guys. Louis, shut up, bro.
There you go. You tell that dog.
Yeah, he just looked at me. He's like, "Sorry, Dad."
He's not invited on Whiskey Thursday no more.
Louis, that's it. I'm going to lock you in the bedroom from now on. So no, it's
sorry, Anthony. Yeah. Just to add to that as well. Like we Matt and I went into the private group. You can go take a look at that. We just posted a video about this, just so people are fully aware about how this is going to work moving forward. Just to remind people, this is a new relationship, a new partnership that we're building up here with Anthony as part of something bigger that we want to do inside of the big group, the REMCM group, and so this is something that Anthony is doing. Not necessarily on your own, Anthony. I think we're still coordinating with you. I still think this is part, but this is something that we decided to do with you. But because you're taking lead on this stuff, it's not part of the original beta program, or students that are part of that program. That's not to say that any other masterclasses that Matt and I might do in the future on our own that are more related to what we're teaching inside of the program, those will likely be included. But you guys have already, man, like even asking that question, you guys have gotten like 6 masterclasses that we've.
I was just gonna say, like how much value do you guys want?
Much. There's so much content. Like, what do you need on another masterclass? Just pay the $100 and pick up the masterclass.
Yeah, it's $100, guys.
Show some support
for a masterclass. $100.
Yeah.
Like the new course is going to be, I don't know. We haven't really decided. It might be as much as 4,000. We're between a couple different numbers right now. So like $97 for a masterclass is like, yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Anthony, you haven't seen this new thing. I don't know. Did you see that post I put out about the training program, the white label training program for scripts and conversions?
Yeah, I did.
You should see this thing. I'm going to send you a link to it and install it on your ClickFunnels account. You're going to have to pay for it though. It's like, I might charge you.
Yeah.
$100.
just send me an invoice.
Send me an invoice.
But no, you got to go take a look. I really love to have your opinion on this because this thing's a beast. 21 lessons.
Okay.
Step by, like, Matt recorded 12, like, what did you do? 12, 13 new videos on scripts, like how to run through your script, how to call your leads, how do you talk to your leads. So I just did a call with a new client. That's what I was doing at 6 o'clock. That's why I was late. And they're a big builder here in Canada and in, I believe, New Zealand. I think they're in New Zealand. And they were just blown away by like,
really?
Wow. Like, okay, you're giving us the training on how to run through our scripts, how to talk to our leads, how to convert them to appointments. The scripts, like we have, the foreclosure script, we've got the buyer script in there, we've added an LO script in there. So I want you to take a look at it. I love your opinion on this and see what you think. But guys, if you're in the program and you don't think you guys are getting this, like this, just this alone, I think is worth $1,000.
What are you guys charging? What are you guys charging for, like outside of the course?
Nothing. It's included.
Oh, it's just
like. Wait, what do you mean? Outside the course?
Outside the course. $297, $247.97.
Okay, but that's still great for a white label piece, like just to be able to basically hand clients. That's absolutely fantastic.
5 minutes to install. All the videos are white labeled. All the scripts are white labeled. Add your logo to it, and away you go. And send this off to your clients. Yeah. Yeah, I'll send you a copy of it.
I'll take a look at it. That sounds awesome.
I'd love to see what you think of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take a look at it. What's tomorrow? Friday? Probably not tomorrow. I'm planning on.
No, whatever. I don't have time to send you the link.
I got things to do tomorrow. I gotta be on the water. I might be fishing. I don't know. I think I go wild tomorrow. I'm just not sure.
Well, before we go, I did want to talk a little bit just on what you guys are doing with this masterclass. Is this a big deal with all the targeting changes with Facebook? Because I feel like this is kind of a big deal with all the targeting changes from Facebook.
So yes and no. Hold on one sec. Sorry.
Alex is sitting here going like this, and Anthony's like yes and no, and he's like,
yeah. So one of the things we're gonna go into with the copywriting and how you build your bait pieces is how you use those bait pieces and the copy you're writing to demographically target or pre-qualify people. Mm-hmm. Meaning, a lot of people put out ads that are very general stuff, right? And when you could put out general stuff, but then target it very, very specifically, general stuff was okay because you got enough of a target and there was enough value in it that it starts overlapping, right? Now you all of a sudden go from a very, very specific audience to a really large audience, right? Mm-hmm. But you're still only looking at this piece of the audience that really values or wants your stuff. So how do you figure out this from all the rest, right? And that's where copy, that's where the pictures, the copy that you're writing, the value of the thing that you're giving away, all that sort of stuff does better. And here's a way to think about that, right? Back when this really came about, we were in the print marketing days, right? How do you stand out from people's mailboxes? How do you stand out in things like newspaper ads?
Well, yeah, Every Door Direct wasn't a thing for a long time.
Exactly.
Agents had to learn this.
Absolutely. And even with Every Door Direct, if you're, in Boston and advertising at the Globe, right? The Boston Globe or New York Times or whatever it is, all of a sudden you've got to figure out, well, how the hell do I stand out? And how the hell do I get people to respond to those things, even though I'm looking at an audience that is enormous, right? And I can't target in any way, shape, or form. Now, don't get me wrong. The metadata that Facebook is using is incredible. They're still targeting stuff. It's not, just open to anybody kind of targeting at this point. Their metadata is very, very good. But we've sort of, here's the way I think about this, right? We got really, really into ads, how to write copy, how to do all this stuff in print. And then technology came about and websites came about. And as a realtor, you could have a shitty website and still for years stand out from all the agents that didn't have a website.
Yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden, all the agents have websites. So now you have to do a better job of standing out from the other agents who have websites. And then it becomes so amassed. But I think there was this thing that in that interim time, in that time period between the old school methodology of writing ads, writing things that work in newspaper, all that sort of stuff, and the new school of technology, we've sort of forgotten a lot of the old school because we've gone with the new school. Mm-hmm. Right? What we're doing here is taking the old school, bringing it back and going, here's how all of that stuff now works in Facebook, in emails, in all of these other media, and really focusing on that concept. And I think that's the core of it is because Facebook changed targeting, because they've changed what they're doing, these things stand out so much more because at their core, they were built to stand out in something that had no targeting.
Right.
Right.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So, I mean, if that's not worth $97 alone, then, I don't know why you're running a real estate agency. Like, oh my goodness, man. I'll tell you what, the stuff that gets packed into these $97 masterclasses is insane. Like I spend usually a couple $1,000s a month on courses just because I'm going through new content as often as possible. And like, they're great. So I'm really stoked about it. Real quick, anybody who is still there, hashtag live in the comments if you're still watching live, hashtag replay if you're watching the replay. And if you made it all the way, if you've been there since the beginning, we have 21 people since the beginning. I love it. If you made it since the beginning, hashtag trooper down in the comments below. Let us know you've made it all the way through everything we've got, all of our tangents and everything, that you're still here. Hashtag trooper, because we appreciate you. We love you.
I just want to throw a side note out here, and I don't know if I was the one who said boosting or somebody else did, but Ed here said boosting ? I just spit out my Jameson.
Oh, yeah. Somebody up.
Olivia says, why are you boosting anything?
And a comment above that.
So, oh, okay. Got it.
No one thought you were boosting.
I
Alex.
was like, what am I doing? But here's the funny part. I actually do boost some stuff.
It's the stuff I don't touch.
I run a Facebook page with like 8,000 people on the page itself and a community of like 50 to 52,000 on our blog. We get between 6,000 and 8,000 readers every week on our blog itself. Because I already have that huge audience in the page and was given that, we need to keep that audience active. So we do spend a little, not any close to a majority of our budget, but a little bit of our budget boosting stuff to make sure that our audience is seeing what we want them to, because we are putting out valuable content every single week. In fact, do you mind if I mention Agent Inner Circle for a second?
Go ahead. It's totally
cool?
free community. You're absolutely, yeah.
All right. So you might have seen some of the stuff getting shared into the group over the last week or two. I run a group called Agent Inner Circle. It is a 50-ish thousand person blog. We put out content every single week about how agents can improve their business. And as opposed to, and this is sort of where we stand out, a lot of blogs out there give you the theory where they're like, oh, here's a cool marketing idea. Now go figure it out, right? Like we see that all the time. And I die. What we do is every single week, the article that we put out has a video, an article, and some kind of giveaway. So say we write an article on how to write a great sales letter, we include a template sales letter you can use that week, right? Or Facebook ads, we include a set of basic ads you could use or whatever. There's like almost 500 articles on the site, huge amount of content and totally free. You don't even have to give us your email address to use it. You give us your email address if you want emails on a weekly basis from us, reminding you the content's out there. It is totally, and I mean legitimately, totally free. So
I'm a monthly contributor to it. I do an article every single month on the blog. I think it's an absolutely unbelievable way for agents, for marketers, for brokers to just get real information about what's going on in the industry. I'm a supporter of, and again, it's a totally free thing. So it's like, it's kind of dumb not to be a part of it because it doesn't cost you a penny, like not a single penny. To be a part of it.
We know you're part of it. You keep spamming our group with it.
That's right.
Only with approval.
Once a month.
Come on now.
My article share.
Yeah, it's approved spam.
It's approved.
Is it really spam if it's free value though?
No,
there's some people who push the line.
There's definitely people who push the line.
There's
off somebody's comments the other day. I was like, this guy really?
there's some funny ones out there. People people post some stuff. I pretty much I'm the one who goes in and just kills anything close to anything bad or spam or promotional. And people sometimes I'll get a message and be like, why did you delete that? I'll be like, I don't even remember, but you can try it again and see if it works.
So Joe is in here. Joe was the first person to actually get the class, and he went all the way through. He took the bump. He took the upsell. Joe, thank you so much for being a part of this. There's a couple more people who purchased, but Joe, you were the first. I got the notification for it, so I want to thank you. Thank you for that. You went all the way through it, and I promise you're absolutely going to love what Alex is going to bring to the table next week.
And Joe's the guy who's going to implement this stuff.
Oh, he will.
Oh yeah, Joe Sizzle, I'm guessing, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Cool stuff.
He's crushing it. What, over 17 deals in the last 5 months already? This is his first year in the business. First year in the business, over 17 deals in the last 5 months.
Big ups. Big ups.
Crushing it, man.
So your first year in the business, you're going to close about 40 to 42 transaction sides. So that's not bad, Joe. I'm happy for you. I really, what, Joe, if you don't mind, what market are you in? Where are you located?
Oh, he'll say it, but he's in Grand Junction, Colorado.
He's in Colorado too. So he's in
400K area.
That's one of the new,
not an easy market.
Yeah, that's one of the new real industry epicenters out in Colorado too. That's actually where we thought about setting up one of the,
Yeah, one of the things.
we were going to invest in some property out there.
You know, and Joe's one of those guys that Joe came from Matt's beta program.
Okay.
Way back, right? So Joe implemented Matt's 7-day challenge and then got into the beta program. And he's the kind of guy that just implements what he learns. And
Joe sizzles in the world.
Yeah, he's reaping the rewards right now, right? And he's working. Like this guy works.
Well, you know, work, right? No, he's coming for free.
Yeah.
You don't put the time in, it's not going to happen. So if he's putting the time, I'm happy that it's happening for him. It makes everything that we do worthwhile, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now the awesome part is everybody here is like, great job, that's awesome. I'm gonna go. I want 100 deals next year.
100 deals next year.
100 deals next year. Double it. Come on now. You got that.
Yeah. And you know what's really cool about Joe too? Like, I mean, for anybody that's a real estate agent, I mean, Matt, you understand this. I know that Anthony understands this, and like I see it, right? I mean, to do 17 deals in your first
18,
year,
sorry, it's 18 in the last 5 months.
18 deals in the last 5 months in your first year, you guys know how much work that is. You know how much effort this guy put into this, right? And this guy still has the time, or still makes the time, to get on the phone with other people that are struggling. He gets on the phone with us. He comes on Whiskey Thursday. He posts lives inside of our private group. Like, like he's still has the time to do all this other stuff.
Amazing.
Which is crazy. Yeah. So congratulations, Joe.
Of Joe. Hey, Joe, I just friended you. Can we interview you for Agent Inner Circle?
Oh,
that's great. That's great.
Oh.
Talk about what you're doing, what's worked for you.
Joe, don't you give out all that stuff from the course. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
I hate you, Matt. I hate you.
We want to screen the question before bringing anybody from the course in. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's Joe. That's actually great. You'll be in front of a lot of people, and that's fantastic.
Thank you, Joe.
I'll send it over to the Inman guys too, because that's a really great success story, and he's got to be rewarded for it.
Love it.
Cool.
Future 30 under 30 right there, man.
You're under
30, and actually, side note, if you have questions about 30 under 30, I have a bunch of friends who are all previous classes of 30 under 30 that I can set you, who have won, who are winners of 30 under 30, who I can set you up with to talk to about what the application process is like, all of that sort of stuff. I've helped a couple.
Is it too late for me?
Are you 30?
You could be in the 50 under 50, Shane.
That's bullshit. It's like I missed out. Like, like nobody told me, like, here's the application.
Well, I don't know if they were doing it.
There was no Facebook back then. Yep, they were absolutely doing it.
I'm fucking with you, calling you an old man. Come on now.
We should actually put Shane in the 40 over 40 category.
Bullshit. Yeah. Anyways.
Oh man. All right, we've made it this far. Everybody's already hashtag Trooper live replay. You know how it goes, guys. Thank you guys so much for being on. We're super excited. The comment has been pinned, so go ahead if you are looking for the link to get into this. It is down below, and like we said, it's 50% off. Is that right? 50% off right now today
till tomorrow at midnight.
Till tomorrow at midnight. So get in there fast. There's only 100 spots. Yeah, only 100 spots. You're going to get a half off today. And when is the masterclass?
Next Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern time.
Oh,
it'll be recorded. So in the case that you cannot make it for any reason, you will still get all the recordings for it. Obviously, be there if you can, because we're gonna have Alex answer every single question that anybody asks, unless it's absolutely ridiculous. Though even then, I still might ask him the question just to see what his response is. But we're going to go through as long as it takes. I told him an hour and a half to 3 hours. Let's hope it doesn't go to 3 hours, but if it does or over, we'll be there. We're going to answer all those questions. Alex, I think the presentation is about 45 minutes to an hour. So you guys are going to get a ton of information about copywriting from someone basically that just, this is what he lives and breathes. So I don't even know what else to say about it. I mean, he's the guy I use. So that's
Love it.
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you,
So,
guys.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you to all of you. I really appreciate all your time bringing me in. You guys, like I said it earlier, but you guys do so much for the industry. I really appreciate this. So thank you to all of you.
Awesome. Well, with that, thank you, and we will talk to everybody next week.
Yes.
Later, guys.
Give it just a second now. Because the delay. The delay.
It still says live. It still says live.
I'm waiting. And should be ending right here.